Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops in Detroit Bad Boys. And Blake had a late issue pop up with some childcare situation, so he is not going to be able to join us today, and that's all good. So it'll be a shorter episode today. It'll just be me going solo a little bit, but want to make sure we still got something out to talk with you guys about the pretty incredible start here to round number 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Pistons have obviously taken that 2-0 series lead. They won the first game 111-101, the second game 107-97. And we're going to talk about all of that, just some of the quicker takeaways that I've had from those. And of course, if you're tuning in live with us, feel free, ask any questions that you guys do have. We can try to talk through some of those as well. So like I said, I'm planning on being a little bit quicker today just because I'm not as practiced on going alone for these sorts of things. So we'll just make it nice, short, sweet, to the point, talk about the Pistons' defensive domination here against Cleveland, and the fact that, honestly, I know that, so much of the attention, at least from a national perspective, and in some cases even from more like local Cavaliers media, is how not well the Cavs are playing. And I think that there's something to that. The Cavs haven't really shown haven't had a great showing yet. But I think that the same is true about Detroit. I don't think that the Pistons have actually put together a really dominant 48 minutes in either of these two games. And so Mimsy 313 saying, "Where's our homie Blake?" He had a childcare issue he had to take care of, so unable to join on this afternoon here after game 2. But we'll hold down the fort, all of us. So yeah, like Caleb says, Pistons are rolling. Now look, I think I just kind of wanted to start here, and of course, guys, again, questions in the chat where we're throwing the comments, we'll pull them up. Let's make this a little bit more conversational if we can today. But I think that the Pistons are playing dominantly defensively. They've had a fantastic start on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe a couple of things that you could clear up here and there. They've lost Donovan Mitchell a couple times in scramble situations. I think they could be better with that. But, I don't think that defensively there's been many issues. The Pistons are a better defensive team than the Toronto Raptors. And you saw in round 1 how the Toronto Raptors defense was really able to stymie and slow down the Cavaliers offense. That's the whole reason that series went to 7 games. And the Pistons are an even better defensive team than the Raptors are. So I think the cohesion, the rotations, the just disruptiveness, deflections, block shots, all that stuff that we've seen out of Detroit all year long is really showing up big here. I've loved how Cade Cunningham has guarded James Harden. He's really sat on that left hand, which is a clear, at least to this point, scouting report thing from those first 2 games. He's done a great job with that. Even generated a few steals, notably out of that. I think Mimsy 313 saying Duncan Robinson. I mean, I wanted to shout out Duncan as well. So he says, I think that getting contributions from Duncan Robinson on defense has been great. The stealing through was a chef's kiss. Absolutely right. Duncan, he's got a reputation of being a bad defender, and he's not a good defender. I mean, we could just put that point blank how it is. I think even in situations where Duncan's been guarding the ball out on a switch, it's not been great. He's had a couple of nice reps. I don't want to totally take that away from him. He is, he's doing it. He's putting the effort out there. He's doing a good job for him, for his background, for the type of player that he is. But he's still not a great defender. What Duncan Robinson does that I think we've all started to really come to really appreciate, especially here in the playoffs, is he tries. He's a high effort player, and he communicates really well. And he responds to communication really well. So if Jalen Duren or Isaiah Stewart is barking out some orders from the back line of that defense, Duncan Robinson's going to do everything he can to be in the right spot. He scrambles out of switches. He sprints everywhere on defense. He plays with that same level of effort and intensity on the defensive side of the ball that every other seemingly Pistons player plays with. So he fits in perfectly with that. And to Duncan's credit, in him doing that, just in him having that level of effort, I think that the fact that he's so long and tall, he's 6'7", he's got long arms, he's running around the court too. That's disruptive. That is just that size and that length is really disruptive. And we've seen that a couple of times. That's how he got that steal. He just happened to have a hand sitting out in the passing lane, right? He's been able to be a little bit more disruptive even than we've seen in the regular season because his effort and energy has turned up just a little bit. Yeah. So M Go Blue 7 says Duncan gives effort, which gives everyone behind him just enough time to help and recover. Absolutely agree. I think that's really been the improvement that we've seen out of Duncan Robinson here in the playoffs. Now he's never been played off the floor defensively during the regular season. I don't think. I was just still a little bit worried that would happen here in the playoffs, and he's really upped the effort level, which has been fantastic. MC313, good question here. Would you rather have a top 3 defense in the playoffs or a top 3 offense? Honestly, guys, I would rather have the defense because defense travels. JB Bickerstaff is right when he says that in post-game press conferences. You can always go out and slow the other team down, play good, hard defense in a playoff series, whether you're on the road or at home. It doesn't matter the environment, all right? And that's why there's that phrase. Caleb puts it in the chat, defense wins championships. Yeah, that's why that is a phrase. Defense travels. Rebounding travels. Your three-point jump shot, it might not. It might travel, it might not. It's a little bit more uncertain. So the things you can control are your effort, intensity, communication on defense, and the rebounding, right? If you're ending possessions and getting stops, that's going to be great. So that's going to travel a little bit better in the playoffs than that offense would. So that's where I lean on that one. But, straight to that point, it's the defense that's been winning these games. All credit to Tobias Harris and the great offensive performance that he's had. We're going to give our kudos here to Cade Cunningham. He's been unbelievable, especially in clutch time through these 2 games. So we got to give those kudos and give that credit where it's due. But I think it's defensively where the Pistons are winning these games. They've taken James Harden out of his game. They've even Donovan Mitchell, where in game 2, Mitchell had a really nice night. All right. He put up where were we? He had 31 points and 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, and 2 steals. All right. So that's a nice night from Donovan Mitchell. But he went 11 for 24 from the floor. So it's not exactly efficient. And he went 2 of 9 from 3. It's not an accident. This goes back to the crazy collapse, right, that the Orlando Magic had in the second half of Game 6. There's this perspective out there that the Magic missed shots. There's this perspective out there that I've seen that the Cavs are missing shots that they should be making. And I think that's entirely overlooking how great defensively the Pistons have been playing. They've been out on a string. They've been communicating really well. They're in every passing lane. They're in every shooter's hip pocket. They've done a fantastic job cutting out little drop-off pocket passes in the pick and roll because the Cavs like to do that all season. They would love to get into the short roll situation by having one of their guards deliver their big pocket pass as they're going through, get them the ball at the free throw line. And the Pistons are coming in. They're not blitzing, but they're playing at the level on these screens through these first 2 games. And the guy playing at the level, the big man, he's playing with low hands. He's got a low hand to cut off that bounce pass in the passing game. It's little stuff like that that's making it just that much harder for the Cavs to get into the offensive sets that they want to get to. It's making it just that much harder for the Cavs to generate the type of looks that they would like to generate. And I think that's when you start to see, okay, the Pistons they're forcing the Cavs into these misses. The shots that the Cavs are taking, even when they're not contested, it's been work to generate it. It's been really difficult to generate those shots. And that's where I think especially the conversation starts to, at least some of the negative conversation. Well, the Cavs just need to clean up a couple of things. If they start hitting their open shots, they're going to win the games. Like, kind of, not really. It's the fact that even those open shots that they're generating, their late shot clock, it's been a lot of ball movement, a lot of dribble drives, a lot of physical contact, not being able to get to where exactly they want on the floor. And then out of a scramble situation, they're able to, get Dean Wade an open look or something like that. Right. That's not an easy shot anymore, even though it's open. It's not. It's just like in games like Desmond Bane misses a wide open 3. Tristan DeSilva misses a wide open 3. Those are 2 really good shooters, but they were late clock situations. And the Pistons have been leaning on them for however many minutes up to that point, the entire second half. that's not an easy shot anymore. So I think there's been a lot of that going on as well. So Go Blue 7 points off of turnovers. Absolutely. The defense really set up the offense in the first quarter. Both of these games, he says game one. I'd say that's the same situation for game number 2 as well. I mean, let's just read some of these off. So Tobias Harris, we got to give him the shout out. He had 21 points in game 2, 9 of 16 from the floor, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Tobias Harris is doing a phenomenal job on Evan Mobley, while also still putting up 21 points. Duncan Robinson, another 5-make 3-point game here in game 2. He went 6 of 12 from the floor, so did get that one little floater, but that's 17 points for Duncan Robinson. You need that. You love to see that. Jalen Duren, again, he's still struggling a little bit offensively. I think that he still looks a little bit tight. He's bobbling the ball on some passes he usually catches. He's bobbling the ball on rebounds. His hands are kind of in question. I think he's looked more decisive though through these first 2 games. He's really trying to attack those Cleveland big men because they just physically can't stay in front of him. And I think that's a great thing. Evan Mobley, he did have one really nice block against Jalen Duren. Otherwise, I mean, on these drives, it was just Duren missing the shot. So, he went 2 of 7 from the floor. He did get to the line 6 times, though, so that's something you wanted to see. And that's something that they needed to see. I think you need Jalen Duren generating fouls and free throw shots here in order to win this series. So that was great. I still think that Jalen Duren, he's 22 years old. Mimsy313 says maybe a breakout in game 3 for Jalen Duren. I'm going to keep waiting for it. I think it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come. He's definitely in his head a little bit. He's missing shots that he usually makes in the playoffs so far. He's not necessarily as aggressive looking for his shots. I think we're starting to see that trend in the right direction. He's been more willing in this series through these 2 games to take Evan Mobley or Jarrett Allen on one of those ISO possessions from the top of the key. And it flashes, every night. He had that beautiful little spin move against Evan Mobley there in game 2. He had a really nice in game 1, went right through the chest of Jarrett Allen and finished. We've seen flashes of who he's been offensively through the regular season. It's just not been as consistent. And I do think a lot of that is just, it's the playoffs. It's pressure's a little bit different. We've all been talking about that. I don't think that's an original analysis by any stretch. So I will say I want the Pistons to keep leaning into it. I know that to an extent that means you're going to live and die with his performance a little bit. And maybe that even elevates the pressure, which could be problematic. But at the same time, I think that the worst case scenario, or the reasonable worst case scenario, is that Jalen Duren generates some foul trouble for Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. I think, you've seen that. In game 2, he had 6 free throw attempts. Game 1, he had 4. And you saw Jarrett Allen get into foul trouble really early on in that game for game 1. I think that works. So it's just in terms of expected but not great outcomes. If it's just Jalen Duren's getting to the line, I'm pretty good with that. Getting Jarrett Allen especially off the floor a little bit more, I think that's really helpful. The upshot is that he does eventually figure out. If you could get Jalen Duren back to that performance that he had been giving all season, along with Tobias Harris playing the way that he has, I mean, this could be a fairly quick series. And even going into the next round, that would be a huge boon, I think, for Detroit. So I think that you still lean into it. I don't want to call a breakout game 3. I'll just say I can see it. I can see it happening at any point here in this playoffs. I think you just keep giving the kid some time. He's just 22 years old. He'll figure it out. He's had a couple of really nice games so far. Game 7 in particular in round 1. I thought he actually looked really good in game 1 against the Cavaliers, even though the shot wasn't going in as much. He looked really aggressive, even hit that little mid-range jumper early. I loved what I saw out of him offensively and process-wise in that game, and honestly process-wise in game 2 as well. So I think he'll get there. I'd love it to be game 3. Yeah, maybe it'll be game 4 or 5 or 6 or even into the next round. So this is a good question here. Mimsy313. What do you think is the difference between Wendell Carter Jr. and then Mobley and Allen defensively for the Cavs. I don't honestly, guy, I don't necessarily think that it is the primary matchup that's the difference for Jalen Duren in this series. Why it's a little bit easier for him to generate looks that he's comfortable with and that he expects to make. Wendell Carter Jr. is a little bit more stout. It takes a little bit more physically to overpower Wendell Carter Jr. So you got to give him credit for that. I just don't think that that's the whole story. To me, it's the tag man, right? If you're going to run a high screen and roll, or if you're going to send help on the strong side for Jalen Duren when he's driving from the top of the key in an ISO possession, look at who Orlando's sending to get in his way, to try to impede his progress to the rim. It's Paolo Banchero. It's Desmond Bane. It's Jalen Suggs, right? The Magic don't have, it's Jamal Cain. The Magic don't have a small, physically not super strong player that can get in his way, but then just kind of be overpowered anyway. Look who the Cavaliers are sending on extra help, right? If Allen's the one taking the primary responsibility of stopping Jalen Duren, then maybe Jarrett Allen is Evan Mobley is the one in the corner against Asar Thompson, but Evan Mobley's not the strongest player in the world. You can go through Evan Mobley. That's not a huge, it's kind of a cone in the way. You can go around that. It's Donovan Mitchell, 6'2" on a good day, right? It's James Harden, who's not quick, even though he is a little bit more stout. I think that to me is the difference. Who's the help? Because Jalen Duren was seeing waves in round one, and he's just not in these first two games against the Cavaliers. So to me, I think that that's the difference. While Wendell Carter Jr. is a bit stronger than Mobley and Allen, even though I would say Mobley and Allen are better defenders positionally, I think it's the waves of help defense that is significantly now reduced against the Cavaliers. All right, another one leaning into it really worked for Danis Jenkins. Absolutely. Got to give him a huge shout out, right? Danis Jenkins in 26 minutes in game 2, 14 points, 2 of 5 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and he only had 1 turnover. I continue to be just absolutely floored by his rebounding. He did that in game 1 too. The just little tip outs, right? Danis Jenkins does the little things that's just winning basketball. That shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, he's an undrafted player who wasn't all that recruited even into college, and he's fought and clawed his way to get to where he is professionally now. So, guys like that usually, they're going to be doing the little things right. That's why they're getting the contract. But his rebounding as a average sized point guard with, good athleticism, but not incredible athleticism, I think it's been game changing in a couple of ways. Even in game 1, Danis Jenkins with that tap out late to get the Pistons an extra possession down in the closing minutes there against the Cavaliers. Huge. And, I don't want to, my little phrase, friends don't let friends use single game plus minus, but Jenkins, it kind of sort of tells the story. +9 in game 2 and then +8 in game 1. He's just been solid. He's been playing well with and without Cade Cunningham. Danis Jenkins has been vital, I think, to these first 2 games. And if he can keep that up on the road, and that's going to be a question. Role players usually don't play as well on road games. Role players don't play as well in road games in the playoff, right? That's usually your conventional wisdom. But if he can keep it up, I think that's a huge swing here for the next 2 games. Real quick, in our live chat, Mimsy313 again, has the playoff performance affected his payday? I'm assuming we're talking about Jalen Duren there. I'd say no, personally. He's still 22 years old. You figure he'll eventually figure out that playoffs. That's a pretty safe gamble to make, quite frankly, with a guy that young. You pay him based off of what you saw for those 82 games, and you'll be good for it. And even in the worst case scenario, maybe he's not eventually a regular playoff performer, then hey, you still need to get into the playoffs. You still want a good playoff seed, right? So that's still valuable. But no, I wouldn't think that this has affected the payday negatively. Honestly, to me, I think Duren can only stand to make money here in the playoffs. If he plays his butt off and the Pistons make a run to the NBA Finals here moving forwards, he could get even more money. But I think that 5-ish years, around 200, slightly more in total salary. That's probably pretty locked in. All right, let's see. We've got the Mike Music 14. Thanks for joining. Says, I hate how Cleveland radio has been giving no credit to the Pistons defense, just saying how it's just them playing bad and having to have better ball protection. I agree. I'll also, I see in the chat, hometown bias. Yeah, probably. I mean, if you think about it, the Pistons, we all kind of did this, right, with the early games against the Magic, that it wasn't necessarily that the Magic were playing really, really well. They were playing well. They were playing good, sound basketball, but the Pistons just weren't really playing up to their standard. We spent even a lot of times on this podcast focused on that storyline. So you could say it's a little bit of the same for Cleveland. I will just say I do think that there's a difference, and that difference is that the Cavs have not been able to have a stretch where they looked like they're on their A game and looked like they are the better team. The Pistons, even at the point where they were down 3-1, there were multiple stretches in that first game of the series, in game 3, in game 4, right? There were stretches either in the second quarter or in the third quarter where the Pistons just went on this run and they dominated and they looked like they were clearly the better, more talented, better put together team as compared to the Orlando Magic. The issue was stringing it together. The Pistons couldn't string it together. I don't see that. I've not seen that here in this series against the Cavs. I mean, even looking quarter to quarter, the Cavaliers won the third quarter in game 2. They narrowly won the second quarter in game 1, and then they solidly won the third quarter in game 3. They've not, like, they've made it a game. I don't want to say that they've not made it a game, right? I don't want to devalue the Cavaliers. I think that they're an incredibly talented team. I really do. I'm not expecting this to be a sweep or anything like that. I would argue no one should. I think that the Cavaliers are a very talented team. Very talented. They've got 4 legitimate all-stars. They have pretty good depth. I mean, Jalen Tyson, solid player. Max Strus, solid player. They're a good team. Very talented. But they've not been able to string together a stretch of basketball where you watch it and you go, oh, that Cavs team, they're just better. They're better than Detroit. You could say that in round 1 with the Pistons and the Magic. You could say that in round 1 with the Raptors and the Cavs too. Even in the games the Raptors were winning, there would be stretches where you're like, man, the Raptors just kind of look outclassed. That's not been the case here. And to the Mike Music 14's point, it comes down to the Pistons defense. The Pistons defense has been that good. The Cavs have not been able to get comfortable. Even in game 2, where they did successfully flop their way to Asar Thompson being in foul trouble, the Cavs were not able to get comfortable against the Pistons defense. They've made it a game. They've had stretches where they looked like a competitive basketball team, but they've not been dominant. Not once. And that might happen here on the road. If I can make a prediction here, I don't think that the Pistons are going to sweep the Cavs. I don't think they're going to walk into Cleveland here and win both of these games. So I bet that there will be a stretch of basketball where the Cavs look legitimately like the better team, not like it's close and you've got 2 good teams playing well against one another. Because that's been, the third quarter and the second quarter, right? That's been my read of it. It's like when the Cavs are playing well, respectively, they look like the Pistons and Cavs is going to be a tight and close series. When the Pistons are playing well, it looks like the Pistons are the better team. Hopefully that makes sense. So, yeah, I really do think that is over. The Cavs aren't just missing; they're being forced into some bad looks. If I could make a prediction here, so let's see. We got Mempsey 3-3, gentleman's sweep. I could see it. I think it comes down to game 3, honestly, with you guys. So Richard says Duncan and Jenkins have looked much more comfortable against Cleveland. If the Cavs can't rein them in at home, this will be a short series. That is my observation as well. I think that it's Duncan Robinson and Danis Jenkins. The depth that the Pistons have had has been very strong. And the Cavs just defensively are not able to take Detroit out of what they want to do. Look at the Cavs' entire defensive structure. All right, it leans into what the Pistons want to do offensively. And this is a bad matchup. I was calling this out before the series started. I'm going to say it again now. The Cavaliers want to funnel everything to the paint towards Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. The paint is where the Pistons want to go. Everything the Pistons do is getting to the front of the rim and playing from there. So offensively speaking, what the Cavs want to do is what the Pistons want to do. That's a bad matchup for Cleveland, even though they do have some very good shot blocking big men. That's just a bad situation when your defense is structured to basically allow the other team to get where they want to go. That's not a good setup. Whereas with the Pistons, they play defense very much in the same way the Raptors do. And that just makes Cleveland a little bit uncomfortable. So the Cavs can't really speed up Detroit defensively. The Cavs are not built to do what Orlando did, defensively speaking. I think that even that being said, Cleveland, if they put together their A game, they can outscore Detroit. I mean, they have 4 legitimate all-stars that could all go for 20 or more on any given night. So do not rule that out. That might happen here in game 3 or in game 4. But defensively speaking, the Pistons are equipped to slow down the Cavs. That just doesn't go the other direction. Let's see. So yeah, Richard again saying Detroit has put themselves in a good situation to split in Cleveland and win in 5. I'm hopeful that that's more or less what we're going to see. I think this is a fun point. So Mimsy 313 Devil's Advocate. We could have said that about Orlando being better than us, and then we came back. We're not in for that kind of situation, right? I would say we're not in for that sort of situation. And again, the difference to me is that the Pistons, even through 4 games against Orlando, had put together stretches of basketball where they just looked like far and away the better team. We've not seen that out of the Cavs. We've seen the Cavs play at Detroit's level and make it a close game, competitive game. We've not seen the Cavs go out and just like run away with it. There's been no point. I know that the Cavs tied it in game 1. I know that the Cavs took the lead in game 2. There's been no point in either of these 2 games where I felt like the Pistons did not have control of the outcome. And that's just a credit to how well Detroit's playing. That's a credit to the amazing performances of Cade Cunningham so far, especially I think in game 2. I loved his floor game in game 2. I know that he had turnovers, right? He did have 5 turnovers there in that second game. He had 10 assists though, so that's a 2-1. You live with that. That's solid. I just thought that the way he approached that game, knowing that in the second half, the adjustment the Cavs made in game 1 was to deny him topside, to try to just not let him get that ball, force him into back cuts, stop him from moving back towards half court to receive and be able to actually initiate offense. Okay. He knew that was the adjustment that they were going to give him. So what does he do through 3 quarters? He facilitates, right? He had 10 assists that game. He got to the free throw line because he was aggressive going to the rim when the Cavs were overplaying, when he did actually get the ball. 8 of 8 from the foul line. And then in the 4th quarter, when you need your superstar to show up, what does Cade Cunningham do? Well, he goes off, right? He had, I think it was 12 of his 25 points there in the 4th quarter for game 2. That right there, that's the kind of game that, to me, really cements Cade Cunningham as a little bit of a different type of superstar in today's NBA. Cade's a little bit of a throwback superstar in my book. And I say that because he doesn't need to win by scoring a bunch. He can. He doesn't need to win by passing a bunch, but he can. He can play defense. He's very physical. He's a great leader. I mean, he's so flexible. And I think you look around the league and it's really difficult to find other players that fit this same mold that Cade does. Where Cade in game 2, he won you that game because of his playmaking and the way that he approached it. Right. He won you that game because he took over in the 4th quarter and decided he was going to be the scorer that the Pistons needed to seal the deal. He won the game defensively. Right. And in the past against Orlando, he put up 45 to go extend the series. He's had major assist games too, where he's not been as much of a scorer, but he's really just focused on the playmaking. How many stars in this league can you say that about? Where they have really 4 avenues of winning you a basketball game specifically. And that's Cade Cunningham. So man, he has been so impressive here through these first two games and through the playoffs in general. I saw a great stat. Through 15 playoff games, Cade Cunningham has never scored less than 21 points. So he is absolutely a riser in a playoff setting. Let's look ahead very, very quickly here because we're coming up on time to games 3 and 4. You're going into Cleveland with a ton of momentum. The Cavs only have questions. The Pistons have had a lot of answers. I'll say I think that the Pistons still have some things they could clean up. I think obviously getting Jalen Duren going would be big. I think the turnovers for Cade Cunningham would be big. I would like to see a little bit more back screening specifically to get Cade the ball a little bit more easily early on in the game if the Cavs are going to continue denying him topside like they have been. And I just, I don't want to say they've been sloppy offensively, but they've kind of let the Cavs come back into these games in the first two. So they have some things to clean up. This team could be better. I don't think that they've put together 48 minutes of fantastic A-plus Pistons basketball yet. So that's awesome because it means that now that they can. And this team has been dominant on the road in the regular season. So what I would love to see, at least in game 3, because I think game 3 is your real opportunity to put your foot down. If the Pistons can get Danis Jenkins going again, if the Pistons can maybe get Isaiah Stewart to put up some threes, look a little bit more comfortable out there offensively. I think if the Pistons can keep Asar Thompson out of foul trouble in game 3, and they keep playing the level of defense that they have been through these first two games, I think you could really send a message here in this third game. I would fully expect the Pistons and Cavs to split these next two, but I think game 3 is your opportunity, especially for a Cavaliers crowd that's going to be a little bit restless here after what they've seen through these first two games. So if the Pistons can come out and have another really strong start in the first quarter, get out to a solid lead, if they could continue to suffocate that Cavaliers offense, make it tough for them to score and get going and get the shots that they want, just make them uncomfortable. You know that Cade's still going to play well because Cade plays well on the road. He's a superstar. He's going to be great. If you could get, you continue to have Tobias Harris looking as comfortable as he is on switches, get Duncan Robinson a few open looks, this thing could snowball on the Cavaliers in a way that I think you maybe would not have predicted when this series started. So to me, I think that this game 3 is your big opportunity. Game 4 is what it'll be. If the Pistons can pull out a win here in game 3, obviously you're looking at the ability to sweep the series. In game 4, I just, I don't know what would happen in that situation. But I think game 3 is the moment, right? This is the moment. So I don't think that there's anything more I've really got on what to expect moving forwards. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I think that the way the Pistons have been winning these games should travel. They should be able to do it on the road just as well as they've done it at home. They did it against the Magic on the road, obviously in that second half there of game 6. I just, there's something about this series, man. I feel like the Pistons have all the advantage. They are built to slow down this Cavaliers offense. The Cavs are not built to do that to them. And if they can bring out that suffocating defense again in the first half here with game 3, you've already got some discomfort, some tensions in that Cavaliers locker room. You've already got some tensions between players and coaches. This could unravel quickly is where I'm trying to go with this. So I think that your opportunity to force that to happen, to speed along the dissolving of this Cavaliers locker room, to make them all just disillusioned and even a little bit more desperate. I think you could do that in the first half here. And if they can, you might actually be looking at a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, as Caleb's saying here, Pistons in 5. So I'm going to say Pistons in 6, because I don't want to get overly optimistic after 2 games in this playoff series. But these 2 games have gone how I've expected them to go. And I think that that's a really good sign here for Detroit. So I think that we're going to wrap it up here. guys, and I'll get this one out onto podcast platforms as quickly as I possibly can. But shout out to all of you here in the live chat with us. Finals appearance. Well, let's slow down. Let's slow down there, MC313. I'm just more focused on the storybook opportunity of playing the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. What NBA fan wouldn't want that? A Pistons Knicks conference finals. That's got the history in terms of the franchises. It's got the history in terms of these groups going at each other last year in round one. That would be so fun. That's my hope. So fingers crossed that we can actually see that. But regardless, thank you guys for being so active here in the comment section. I don't think I could have gotten 35 minutes just talking to myself. So I appreciate all of you for carrying this conversation. This was a good one. Great efforts here from the Pistons through the first two games, moving on into now game 3 and 4. Be sure that you guys are liking and subscribing, whether that's on YouTube, on podcast platforms, wherever you're listening to this. It does really help us out with the way that YouTube and other podcasting platforms push out content that listeners haven't yet explored. So that is always helpful for us. I did check. We didn't have any voicemail questions today, but make sure you guys leverage that if you'd like. We love hearing your guys' voice. It's one of our favorite things about this show in general. So the number for that, 313-355-2717. If you want to hear the voice on the show, your voice on the show, be sure to give that a call. Leave us a voicemail, your questions, your comments, whatever you want. Just try to keep it under 45 seconds to a minute. We're the ones that get to ramble on this show. So don't step on our toes. Otherwise, we love hearing those. We'll play them out on the show and talk about it. A special thank you to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. Shout out to you guys as well for these great questions, great talking points. We'll catch you next week, probably, by the way, probably after game 4. So maybe sometime on Tuesday or Monday of this next upcoming week. So we'll see. We'll put that out there. We'll let you guys know where we are, where you can find it. But whether you're live with us on YouTube or just enjoying the show on your commute to work, we can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you guys. Go Pistons into game 3.